is deep. You're so unique.
You got to find the truth underneath. So let's.
So
It's all good. What's up, man? So good to see you, bro.
likewise, man.
Dude, I try to get the blue and yellow to shout out Lincoln Park for you, man. But it's not really working that well. But it's something.
I like it set up, man.
Thanks, man. You know, yeah, we're just in our room. Got a little poster, a little something. I'm on, like, this laptop is on a ladder. If you can see everything on this side, it's chaos. Yeah, man, you're Chicago's legend, man. Went to Lincoln Park, graduated there. You played Division I basketball. This is cool. You are so humble. You never wanted people to know this. I found out because I was on the internet, like, goofing off on Facebook or Instagram, and I found out that you played AAU basketball. I won't say who or what his name is, but everyone can guess the most legendary NBA basketball player's son. You played AAU with him and went to 2 national AAU tournaments in Florida. So, dude, you've done some pretty incredible things. You got your master's, and you're working for Under Armour as a marketing specialist. And let's jump in if it's okay.
Yeah, let's get to it.
And so once again, we're exploring this dynamic between a father's relationship with their child and just how impactful that is, both on a positive side, but then also on the hurtful side. Mm-hmm. And so we just want to explore this. Once again, I want to be very sensitive. We're not bashing our dads, you know, and I know you have that same perspective as well. Once again, for people that's listening to this,
yeah, we
just want to explore that dynamic. So, Cortney, can you tell us, what was your relationship like with your dad growing up?
It was. I would say it was amazing. You know, you for those out there that kind of grew up with their dad, like at a point, like I looked up to him for everything. It was like I remember living in Roseland in the first grade before I transitioned to going back and forth. And I was in kindergarten, and my dad used to walk me to school, and drop me off and pick me up. And when he used to pick me up, he'll bring me like snacks. For some reason, I like honey buns and stuff like that. But like, he was like my superhero. Like everything that he did, I was like, oh, my dad can do this. My dad is better than your dad. So the impact was amazing. Just growing up when I was younger, like I looked up to my dad for any and everything that he did. And I just thought I was like, it was the best in the world, like anything that he did. So as a child, me and my father's relationship was amazing. He was my hero. But it kind of turned a little bit. I kind of got, a heavy heart due to some things that happened. So going into the transition. So transition literally from being on the south side of Roseland. We had a beautiful home. Stayed in a nice house. I'm the baby of 4. I have 3 older siblings. Stay in this nice house with my mom, my dad, and it was a transition. My dad was involved with some different stuff with some shady people, and I'm not quite sure of the story, but I remember being asleep in the room with my brother, my oldest brother, and my sisters were staying in another room across the hall, and my parents was down the hall as well. So we all was like sleeping on the same floor. Yeah. And I remember waking up and my brother coughing out the window and me waking up, and we're seeing like the house is on fire. So we wake up, we, gonna beat on our sister's door, like, the house is on fire, let's get out of here. Gonna beat on my mom and dad door, the house is on fire. So we all made it out safe, good. The house, went up in flames, got real damaged. Luckily, not our neighbor, but 2 doors down was a good a friend of the family, and he was a firefighter. So yeah. He got the team over there quick. They put out the flames. Not quite sure if he had insurance on the home. Probably was out living shady. But so in transition, with the house being, in a bad process, we kind of maneuver over to my grandmother's house. She stayed on 73rd and a little bit off Halsted. So we stayed there, and this. My wife and I talked about this the other day. I'm gonna call it 3 flat. It's a building with 3 levels of 3 different apartments. So my grandmother owned this 3 flat, and we stayed. My whole family stayed. Some music playing. My whole family stayed with my grandmother on the 3rd floor because she had enough space. It was one night. This is me transitioning literally from the first grade to the second grade. It was one night. You know, they say that when I was conceived and my mother went into labor, right before she gave birth to me, she ate White Castles. So I'm a White Castles baby. So I'm like, it was one late night. Had to be in between like midnight to 1 a.m. I was up for some reason on I believe it was like a random Friday or something like that. And I told my parents, like, hey, can you go give me some White Castles? I want some White Castles. I'm craving White Castles. Um, so like, yeah, sure. So they went out to get the White Castles, and they were taking a very long time, and we didn't hear the gunshots, but in the midst of them coming back into the apartment building right in front, as my dad was parking, a guy came up and attempted to rob my father, and he pulled out a gun. And whatever he wanted to rob my father for, I guess my father didn't want to give it up at the time, and they got into a scuffle. And the guy had a gun, and the gun went off. It's an automatic gun, and it shot my mom 13 times. So to paint that picture, my mom gets shot 13 times, and she's still living to this day. She didn't pass away. I believe she still has some bullets floating around in her body, but they got most of the bullets out.
Wow.
She was physically fine within the next 6 months. She was out the hospital. She was walking. She was completely normal. And about a year later in transition, she was physically fine, but mentally she started to, break down.
Yeah.
And she was diagnosed with schizophrenia, bipolar, and it was rough for the family after that. So, as I say, going back into your question, my father has always been my hero. He's still my hero. I love him. But in that transition, it was a long period where he stayed with the family. My mom was having that mental breakdown. But he went through some stuff where he had to, get his stuff together. He kind of separated from the family. As me being the youngest, I have older siblings. So technically, they became my guardian. And we all live with our mother. And he would come back every once in a while. But I was kind of bitter about that, as a boy in the boyhood, like, where's my father?
Yeah.
Why is he not here 24/7? My mother's going through this. Why do I have to, skip my childhood and grow up so quick? Why can't I just be a child? Why can't I just be a boy? Why do I have to grow up to be a man? Why do I have to think about, these harsh decisions when my friends don't, so my heart got real bitter for my father, and I started to judge him and think bad things about him. So um, me and his relationship to this day is amazing. It's good. I call him, we talk. He stays in Denver, but it was a strong period of time where I was just like, I don't know what you're doing. Like you're not doing a good job, or I don't know what a good job is, but like what's going on and what should I do? I'm kind of confused here. So it was a tough road.
Oh, yeah, I can only imagine. Courtney, thanks for sharing all that, man. It's, on so many levels, I can't imagine. I know a lot of psychologists would call it traumatic. It was an event that, man, was just overwhelming. Probably didn't know how to respond. Like, man, if my mom got shot 13 times, man, like, dude, that's pretty intense. So it's amazing that you guys been able, she survived one, and I got to see her at the wedding, and she's beautiful. And I know you have a deep love for her. So shout out to your older siblings as well to keep the family together and strong. So thanks for sharing that. Do you remember what you came to think about yourself because your dad wasn't there at a very crucial time, at a time where, hey, I need my hero. I need the leader, but man, he's not there for mom and for us. And like, what did you start thinking about yourself? Did you start blaming yourself, or how did you fill that gap?
I was a boy. I was a real young boy. I wasn't a teenager yet. And I didn't necessarily blame myself for things. I was just real confused on, what does it look like to be a man? You know, what is maturity? What was the definition? What was the transition? How do you become a man? What's the definition of a man? Does a boy grow into a man and get married?
Yeah.
Does a boy grow into a man and have multiple ladies in the house? there's a boy grow into a man, and like I was just totally confused. I had uncles, I had a big brother. I mean, I had friends, I had mentors. So for me, it was just a moment of confusion. Um, but God blessed me with some type of talent of being a sponge, and I was very quiet. And I would literally just be around people older than me and listen, and just kind of pick the good things that I see in people and take it. But I never had the ability to, just share my heart with people like, hey, this is what I'm going through.
Right.
I'm really troubled right now. I need some advice. It was more so listen to what I want to hear and then let me take it in and try it out.
Mm.
So it was a great transition. Like I would say about 2 years ago, back in Chicago, I was in a D group with a couple guys from the Southland region in Chicago Church of Christ. And we read a book together called Fathered by God.
Amazing book.
Yes. And it just really solidified and helped me understand my levels that I was going through, like the boyhood, to the warrior. So for me at the time, I was literally a boy in boyhood, just searching how to go to the next level. And I guess I had to do it through experience.
Yeah. I appreciate you sharing that. For those that haven't read that book, check it out. John Eldridge wrote that book, and man, it's fantastic. It talks about the journey of how a young boy becomes a man, and it takes initiation from a father figure to help guide that child through a boyhood stage, to a cowboy, to a warrior, to a king, to a lover, to a sage. And so it just talks about all these stages. You need a father figure to guide you, to teach you, to mentor you. So, and one critical thing is if you don't have a father figure or someone guiding you through those really important stages, man, it can leave gaps or an unfinished basement, in a sense, or unfinished foundation, that can really hurt a man's character. And so, no, I appreciate you saying that. So Cortney, where did you go? So it sounds like you learn from other people, like, okay, this is what it means to be a man. This is where it means to be. And you kind of drew
a couple
up.
failed attempts.
For me, when I went through my stage, hip hop filled that hole for me.
Yeah.
For a while, I didn't know what it meant to be a man either. So everything, I'm going to be honest, for me at the time was Tupac. For that time, it was E40 and Wu-Tang. So when they talked about being down and being real, in my mind, I was like, okay, that's what it means to be a man.
Yeah.
And so I need to be down for whatever. But obviously, as I got older, I was like, man, that got me in a lot of trouble.
To answer your question, what filled that hole was basketball. So I was going through a lot of stuff at home. I was missing school, or I just wasn't engaged in school. I wasn't mentally there. I'm just here so I can get a free lunch or whatever it may be. I was a class clown, and I was like quite of a bully too to some people, and I ended up getting detention a lot.
Yeah.
So one day I was in detention, and the detention teacher was the basketball coach.
Oh, so he knew everything.
Jason Yolich, we call him Jay Yolich. He looked at me one day, and I was listening to music. I think I was listening to Jay-Z, and at the time I didn't understand anything Jay-Z was saying, but I loved Jay-Z because I saw my dad listening to him.
Wow.
Back then he had the tapes and everything, so I had like a Walkman, and I was listening to Jay-Z, one of his albums. I was vibing in detention, and he told me to take it out. He's like, hey, you look pretty tall. Short conversation, do you play basketball? And I was like, no. Can you leave me alone? I'm just here, to do detention as I was told. And he was just like, I've never seen you around. And we had a small conversation, and he was like, kind of challenged me. He was like, I challenge you, since you're Mr. Tough Guy, to meet me, at the basketball court after school. And I was like, hey, I catch the yellow school bus back to Albany Park after school. If I stay after, I'm gonna miss that bus. He's like, don't worry about it. We'll get you bus cards. And back then, literally, a one-way ride was 75 cents, and it was $1 for a transfer. So he was like, in return, if you come to basketball tryouts and practice, I will supply you with bus cards. I was like, deal. Deal. So I went out, I tried out, and I did pretty good. I was shocked. I was like, whoa. I played basketball a long time ago, but I never took it this serious. In transition, my first dunk was in 6th grade.
Holy cow.
So literally going from 5'9" to almost 6'2" from 5th to 6th grade. I was tall and lanky, but I started to dunk. And I had to carry around like my birth certificate to prove my age. And it caught wind, and I met some cool people. But what filled that hole was sports, basketball, physical fitness, anything to physically get my mind off reality, and then the ability to be a little better than everybody kind of gave me that confidence.
Wow.
That I was looking for. Like I was searching, like I'm a boy, I'm trying to get to, a teenager or a man. What am I good at? So that was my transition. Like, oh, I'm good at basketball. I can dunk on people. I can block people's shot. This is me. This is my identity. This is me becoming a man. So that kind of filled that hole for that period of time.
Yeah. Like while you're in it, it's hard to know what you're exactly feeling because you're a teenager. You're feeling things. You don't know how to process it. You don't even know how to name the emotion, but you feel something.
Yeah.
And you just want to respond. But now that you're more mature, seasoned, more self-aware, when you look back at that 6th grade Cortney Bell, right? Like, what would you say? Oh man, this is what he was feeling. This is why he filled that hole with basketball or any physical fitness. What was he really feeling or really going through?
Lack of identity, lack of confidence, lack of affirmation, just to have that ability to be good, or people start to give me affirmation like, hey, you're good, like you're great at this. You really dunk the basketball abnormally for a young person your age. And like I started to gain confidence and identity, and in return I get affirmation for people that I wasn't getting at home, or stuff that I was seeking for with being a class clown. So I guess that was the emotion that I was feeling. Like I like affirmation.
Yes.
I like people to tell me that.
Right.
I don't want to tell you that I'm good, but I like you to tell me that I'm good.
Exactly. We try to stay hard, like, yeah, I know. But inside you're like, I love this. This feels great. It's funny because when I think back, it was my freshman year where the sophomores were the break dancers in school. They were the first group. Well, it was the freshmen and the sophomores, but there was this group that was sophomores that were break dancers. They were the cooler kids in the high school. And I remember I'm this skinny freshman kid, like this is a new high school. And I was like, things that you expressed, same thing to me. I was insecure, didn't know my identity. I didn't have a lot of affirmation growing up. But the kids, the 10th grade group, I remember their names. I won't say it. But they were like, hey, Lawrence, man, you're cool. Why don't you come hang out with us? And I remember, dude, it grabbed my soul. It was like, oh, these guys accept me. They're proud of me. They know, they see something in me that I can't see myself. I still remember that moment vividly. At that moment, I was like, I'm loyal. I'm all in. Like, hey, this is my team. This is my family. Like, whatever it wants. And so, yeah, there's that powerful, once again, that core need, like a boy, teenager, man, they need some deep affirmation. If they don't get it at home, we're going to try to find it. Not that we're going to try to find it somewhere, but we need that. And once it gets filled, if you don't know how to process stuff, that's what you grab onto. Mm-hmm. And, I talked to a licensed counselor. He said, this is where addictions can happen because people grab onto something that it can give them that affirmation that they need. And so, man, it's a powerful need there. So, like, how do you connect with God then, who's a father, right? Like, someone that you can't see, someone that you can't, like, verbally hear. Like, how do you build this father-son relationship with him?
Yeah, I mean, that's a great question because I always struggle with, I can't see God. How can I relate to him?
Right.
How can I touch him? How can I feel him? And that was my biggest challenge. Like I can verbally speak. I was like, but I don't think he can verbally speak back to me. I was like, for me, I need that now. Like I can't have faith in something that's not here technically.
Yeah.
So I struggle with that. And what really connect me is just, me reading the Bible, but when I first started reading the Bible, I was like, I don't understand this. This is mad crazy. I was like, and I had to get someone to kind of guide me through, like, you have to read the full Bible to understand, or, read the full book, to understand scripture. And to just even get the concept of, God is, almighty. This is God. But, like John 3:16 is my favorite scripture of all time, just the sacrifice of his own son to save the world. But that transition of Jesus, Jesus came down in human form, so we don't have any excuses. He had the same, ability to possibly struggle just like us, but he overcame and died for our sins. So when I started to read that more, I was like, okay, let me read more into Jesus and learn more about, the Holy Trinity and everything like that. So, so now for me, I'm a visual person. So I'm like, okay, you give me Jesus, Jesus is perfect. I can't be perfect, but if I can, fulfill those steps, now I have a vision. I can't physically see Jesus, but I can create a visual in my mind based off reading, So that kind of brought me to, being a disciple more. It took me a while. It took me into 2016 from there, but that was just the start. And that was my, my version of like connecting with God is through Jesus.
I appreciate you sharing that. And so on the theme of connecting with fathers, what helped you reconnect with your dad deeply? Because there's that phase, there was a while where you were disconnected, pretty angry, and sounds like, rebellious at some point, right? So, because I remember you touched on this a little bit when we talked about how when you study the Bible, the guy's like, hey, you've got to deal with this,
you got to deal with this bitterness that you got going on.
Yeah. So,
man. So to go back, yeah, I was bitter, bro. So go back into the transition. This is me, I was seeking for affirmation. I got affirmation within basketball. I started to get good in basketball. I felt like I mastered it, but I didn't master it. End up, starting to realize, okay, now I need to be academically wise to progress in this. So I overcame a small hurdle by going to high school at Lincoln Park. So I turned down Whitney Young. So now I'm like, okay, I need to be academically balanced with my physical talents. So now I'm kind of seeking that out. I'm getting better. I'm getting help. I'm getting tutors. I'm doing pretty good in school. And now, I will use this term, business is booming. I'm playing with Michael Jordan's son. I'm playing at Lincoln Park. I'm getting a lot of looks. I'm getting verbal, scholarship offers from Wisconsin University, Indiana University. I got all types of mail coming to my house. I get ranked on a national level higher in high school. I'm playing with some big time people. I'm like literally playing in front of, Coach K. I actually had a conversation with Coach K, and he was like, you need to work on your jump shot if you want to do something. Like, so now I'm getting this affirmation. I'm doing better in school, and then everything boils up because now I'm like, okay, I can do it on my own. My dad is here and there, but he's not like to where I want him to be, like there every day or at my games or picking up my report card. So now I'm like, I'm a man. I can do all this by myself. Like, this is what I'm doing by myself. Like, I'm in front of these Division I players, Division I coaches. I'm trying to make it to NBA. I can do this by myself. In transition, like my senior year, first round of playoffs, I think it was either the first play or the second play. And I'm going to say it, whatever. I was wearing Adidas. That's why I'm pretty mad at Adidas. I love everybody, but I was wearing Adidas.
Hold up my knee.
But like literally a fast break by myself, I go up for a routine dunk. I dunk the basketball. My full body momentum is moving forward, but my right leg is twisted to the right, and I completely tear my ACL, MCL, and have to have reconstruction surgery on my knee. So now the affirmation that I was getting and that ability that I'm gaining from an academic perspective is down the drain to me. So I'm like, wow, all the stuff that I think I can do by myself based off this talent is out the window. pretty much all my scholarships got taken away. So I'm like, what's real? What's real? I need real affirmation. So I had conversations with a lot of different people, but I felt like my dad at the time, he did the most that he can do is just like, hey, and from his perspective, it's like, you're going to do something. Like basketball isn't everything. Like it's your character, it's your confidence. It's you that makes you. It's not what you're getting affirmation from as far as basketball. You're a good player. You're a smart person. You overcame a lot of things. You persevered, but it's you. Remember, it's you. And for me, I didn't see that. I was like, it's this that I'm doing great. That I have to keep doing great if I want people to
Wow.
give me affirmation or give me potentially a great payout or a good grade or whatever it may be. So I kind of reconnect with them like during that time because I was having issues with my knee. I was suffering like health issues, and this is in high school, my senior year, and I'm at a dark point, and I'm like, I'm not going to college. I don't have anybody there for me. I end up, moving with my cousin to Inglewood. And she kind of took care of me at the time, but it was a very dark moment in my life. But me and my dad kind of connect a little bit more during that time. And then in transition, me calling the HBCU down in Texas, and because they offered me a scholarship my sophomore year, and I turned it down. I was like, I never heard of your school. Get out of here. Like, what are you doing? Like, why do you send these people? Like, Coach Hester actually came from Houston to travel to Inglewood to come to my cousin's house to meet me, and then like went to a couple of my games, and I kind of treated him bad. So I called him and apologized. I was like, Coach Hester, I'm down bad right now. I need y'all. Is the scholarship still on the table? And they laughed. It was like, oh, you come to us. And it was just like, they gave me the black speech. It's like, support your black people and come on down. We'll take care of you. So I literally go down after my surgery, a couple weeks after my surgery, on crutches by myself to Houston with no guardian, and sign paperwork for a scholarship. So, I mean, my dad, still, on the phone with me, mentally guided me through, and I felt like we connected more on that, but I was still seeking more. And I was still kind of bitter behind the whole situation with my mom, because now I'm leaving Chicago, going to Houston, but I'm still talking to my mom on the phone. My siblings calling me about my mom, like, how is she doing? Is she taking her medicine? And for me, I was like, why do I need to do that? You should be there for her. You should, regardless of whatever you have going on, like, just take care of that. So I don't have to worry. I need to be focused on this. So it was kind of tough for me. And then I end up coming back home for my freshman year in the summertime, and I was hanging out with my friends, and it was someone started shooting, and the bullets were very close and almost hit me. And I was like, this is crazy. I can't come back home no more. So going into literally my freshman year, the second semester, I said my sophomore year and my freshman year experiencing that, like I was telling myself, I'm not coming back home to Chicago. I'm going to stay out here in Texas during the summer, whether I sleep on someone's couch or whatever it may be. So I kind of distanced myself from my family. Everything that I knew in Chicago, I was like, I'm in Houston. I literally have to figure it out and take care of this. And I felt like my family wasn't happy about that. Granted that I've never seen them like during Thanksgiving and Christmas during my collegiate days, just because we were playing basketball so much. It was like, so you're not going to come home for the summer, this is us. So in that transition from going to high school to college, my dad was with me, we reconnected. But when I started to kind of distance myself in Houston, I grew a lot of bitterness towards him. Just because of what was going on back at home. I felt like I shouldn't have to take care of that, or I shouldn't have to talk to people about that. I should be focused on basketball and school. So that bitterness grew. And I was pretty mad about him. So when I got into the situation in Houston, I had to come back home in Chicago and finish up at Robert Morris around 2015. When I started to study the Bible, I asked him a lot of questions. I want to study the Bible seriously this time, and we connected on that forum. And he started to tell me about some of the stuff that he knew in the Bible. I was like, "Oh, this is awesome!" I'm talking to my dad about the Bible. Never thought that this would happen. So we kind of connected around that time, but still kind of bitter. I was still kind of bitter, and you know, I got discipled my first year or two as a disciple. And it was like, hey, dude, you got to get it together. You have to forgive. You have
Mm,
to be transparent.
mm.
You have to be loving. I was like, I don't want to.
I'm still mad. Yeah.
You know, and as I went through that period, I understood a lot of stuff, and I matured in that form, and just thinking about, like, regardless of what happened, like, I love my dad, and that experience built my character to who I am to this day. So we reconnected on so many different levels during that process, but I felt like the full connection was literally my first year of being a Christian and being baptized in 2016.
Yeah. So it sounds like the Bible studies and these guys that were in your life, it helped you deal with it soon instead of pushing it off till later. And it sounds like it helped you take responsibility for what you need to take responsibility for, and also forgive your dad. So, but yeah, that's awesome, man. So that's cool to hear that you and your dad was able to reconnect and re-engage. What advice do you have for, because, you know, this is something that's really heavy on my heart now. The older I get, the more that where I see our culture going, a Black culture, and just the culture of the youth. Like, man, there's so many kids that are not growing up with their dad. And just like you said, there's many that I even know that are bitter, upset, seeking self-worth, affirmation, and a sense of identity. What advice would you have for a teenager or a young teen that hopefully is watching this, but just is just going through some difficult things? What advice would you give them?
I would say sit back and think, literally right now on paper, what you're thinking, and really meditate on what you're thinking, and then seek advice. Seek advice regardless of your age. Get a mentor. Get someone in your life that's wise, that that you feel safe with, to be transparent with. And I would say, like, just be transparent, share your heart, and seek out what you want to do. For me, it was studying the Bible and becoming a Christian. Like, that's what I was feeling. That's what I wanted to fulfill. I would want to challenge anyone out there that, that is not a Christian, or, kind of in between, really, really wrestle through the scriptures with someone. And if you're in the city and you reach out to one of us, I'm sure Lawrence and I will find someone or can study the Bible with you. But I would say if you have the ability to study the Bible with someone, study the Bible to kind of shape your character. But sit down and really meditate and find out what you're looking for, and then seek out for a mentor and get advice.
And I love that. Now, what about to men who may be afraid, like, hey, they want to mentor somebody, they want to get involved in the community, or even dads who maybe disconnected with their kids, but they're scared to re-engage? What would you tell these men, these fathers? What advice would you give them?
I would say, man, don't overthink it. Just go out there and do what you do. Like, because sometimes I know even for me, I overthink things. I literally try to have a vision, like, okay, I can't do something without a vision. But I feel like everyone's unique and everyone is good at something. And what's a small thing that you can do for a child, or, a teenager, whatever it may be, can go a very long way. Just as I shared in the story, like, I was looking for affirmation, and something small, like giving someone some affirmation for a week straight, can really change someone's life. So I would say, just go out there and don't overthink it. Go out there and, help out someone in any way that you can. If that's like a ride to a game, or to pick up somebody for a game, or to sit down and, help someone read or study something out with them, or, catch a football, shoot a basketball with them. Like, just don't overthink it. Just go out there and be yourself, and really guide the youth and show them, like, hey, it's fun to be older, and, teach them the things that they need to be taught.
Yeah, appreciate that. And I want to just piggyback off that. I definitely want to challenge those who feel like they want to do something but are scared to, especially when they see younger males that look intimidating. They look athletic. They may be sagging their pants. They may be a little loud. I just want to challenge that, hey, do not let the visuals distract you from what you feel like you need to do. So if you feel like, hey, man, I want to find a way to help, find a way. Do not let visuals distract you or cause fear in your heart to shrink back. Because I feel like a lot of people were intimidated of me because I was black, I was athletic, I was kind of loud, but really I was loud because I wanted love, man. I wanted attention.
And to that point, if I wanted to share something on that. For me, when I was in college, right before I graduated with my undergrad at Robert Morris, literally from the South Side, I stayed on the North Side for a long period of time. I have family on the West Side, but I literally don't know anything about the West Side. And it was intimidating for me to go on the West Side, but I had a work-study program to graduate, and I had to work at the YMCA on the West Side. And but at first it was kind of intimidating for me because I was like, I don't know these kids. Like some of these kids don't want my advice, or I feel like I'm trying too much, or different stuff like that. And the impact was so much. Like I still talk to some of the kids this day. I have one of them that's at a Division I school. Actually, two of them at a Division I school. Two of them with great jobs right now and kind of gotten their experience in their career. But one guy reached out to me just a year ago, and he was just like, I really appreciate you, taking the time out to helping me learn how to play basketball, even though he never made his high school team. But that mentally gave him the affirmation that he was looking for at home, and it didn't happen.
Great story, Cortney. So what's your favorite scripture that helps you connect with God as a dad?
It's so many of them. I would say one that I most recently read, I want to say it definitely was John 3:16, which is always on my mind, just the ability, to sacrifice his one and only son. But I would say Psalms 103:13. I'll paraphrase it. Let me see if I can pull it up on my phone in a second. Psalms 103:13. The Lord is like a father to his children, tender and compassionate to those who fear him. For me, I was meditating on that probably a week ago, and it went over my head a few times. And just in that scripture, just the God just forgiving and being a father is amazing. And it's so overwhelming because it's like, okay, how do I mirror that to anybody in my family, or how do I look up to him as a father? And at the end it says, for those who fear him, and that's NIV translation. And I kind of look at that as not just the fear of him, but a respect for him, a knowing of him through his word. So for me, that's been a scripture that kind of connects me to God as a father figure. And just knowing like I'm not perfect, I'm going to mess up, continue to mess up even when I try to be good and perfect, especially as a husband. I'm learning how to not be selfish and denying myself and being there for my wife. But like just knowing that I can come to him regardless of what happened. I can come to him and like spill my heart out to him, be transparent, and he's going to be there, just compassionate and loving.
Hey, so what's your Instagram handle or Twitter handle, man? I want people to follow you. You're a great role model. You're a leader in the community. You're just a good man. What is it?
I'm not active on Twitter, but on Instagram, I have two different pages if you want to follow. Okay. I have my personal page, _Cortney Bell. That's Courtney with no U, CORTNEYBELL. _Cortney Bell on Instagram. And also my wife and I have a shared account, which we're just putting out there to people, especially young professionals and young marrieds, that it is dope. It is cool to be married, and it's okay to mess up. And let's just be family. Let's learn from each other, and let's be young professionals, and let's love God. So that page is dezandcort, E as in dog, EZANDCORT, dezandcort on Instagram. So me personally, _Courtney Bell. My wife and I have a shared page, _dezandcort.
I love it, man. Yeah, you guys are so much fun to follow. I've seen some of your things. I love one of them where your wife was teasing you about losing and NBA something.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, she said something because I was playing NBA 2K, working on my career, and I was like player of the month. And she was like, "Yeah, congratulations, you're player of the month. You're working on your career." I was like, "Leave me alone."
and she was following you through your whole yeah, that was hilarious. But you guys are a ton of fun. Cortney, man, I love you tremendously. I respect you tremendously. What you've been through and where you're at now, incredible. You are an inspiration. I hope many people see this, especially in the community that you grew up in, because, man, you have a powerful story to share, man. So thanks for your time. Thanks for your heart. Man, anything I can do, I'm all about it.
Thank you. Thank you for the interview, and thank you for everything, man. Thank you for being that mentor and that good person, man. Just constantly just sharing your heart about God at Nike or even at Under Armour, and just being open arms like, hey, or just even being transparent with me, like at Under Armour. I was like, this dude is, authentic. He's real. And thank you for, being that for me.
No doubt, man. Love you, Cortney.
Love you too, man.
The heart is deep.
You're so unique.
You got to find the truth underneath. So let's